Can I just stop you a minute? Is your microphone? I can hear you, Vicky, but people are saying they can't hear you very well. In All right. Roger was saying he can't hear Vicky, so I'm just wondering if your microphone's all right. Right. Well, we'll see how we get on. I can hear you, but I was going to say, yeah, the whole way that debate is framed is kind of because this idea. I've got a friend who is a police officer, and that's where I got some of my information from for that piece at GB News, because I wasn't going to go in there blind. I knew exactly what the questions were going to be, and I knew it was going to play out. And I was like, I'm not having it. I'm not going to sit by and let Lisa Townsend have that floor. And she was very clear. So yeah, that was that. But another thing about it is, like, once I come off that, I got Sarah Phillimore from We Are Fur Corp, or Fur Corp, whatever they're called. And she's saying I should not be allowed to work for the ambulance service because she has a gender critical belief. So if she met me, I would be discriminatory towards her. I mean, how do you know somebody's got a gender critical belief? By looking at them. You don't, do you? But if I met Sarah Phillimore in real life, I'd be the one that'd have to be protected from her legally. Because she would be the one that could possibly get me into a lot of trouble. And that's the simple fact of it. The fact that she's already identified me as somebody she adamantly dislikes because of something intrinsic about me, which I cannot change, that makes her the threat, not me. It's ridiculous. And Sarah Phillimore actually has just been suspended on Twitter for making some stupid kind of Christmas song against mermaids. I don't know the details of it. Somebody's yet to tell me, but I don't want to get into that, to be honest. Anyway, that was okay. Well, anyway, also what happened to me this weekend is I went on my work's Christmas do, which was nice. I like mingling, but it's strange for me because, like, a lot of the people I work with, some of the people there I've not seen for a while, and they've not seen me transition. So I'm like waving at people, going, "Hiya," and like, "Who's that?"
Yeah, is that better? By the way, is my microphone working better now?
I'll get Roger.
Can we get some live feedback?
Can we get some feedback on Vicky's audio? Let me see. But anyway, yeah. So it's a bit strange when you're because normally I just see people at work and we're all in the uniform and we're just getting on with work. And but when you see people socially and they've had a few drinks, it can be a bit different, Yeah. But I had a nice time and people were mostly nice to me. People ask questions that they probably shouldn't ask.
So where did you go? This was last night, wasn't it?
Yeah, I went to a nice place in a place called
Checkerbent.
Checkerbent. It's a strange place. Sounds like it's
okay. We've got a response. Yes, they can hear me now. Sorry about
Fantastic.
that. It's been a bit like trying to land a plane today. All this technology going on.
You've got too many screens going on.
I know it's too much. I don't know.
I'll just say thank you to Roger for pointing that out. Because
yes, thank you, Roger. It was recording on the podcast thing, but it wasn't recording on the live YouTube thing.
Right, as long as we've got.
Anyways, it's sorted now.
So what was it? What was I saying?
You're talking about your night out.
Yeah. Well, I was driving, so I didn't drink. That's why I'm drinking.
So you're drinking tonight to make up. Yeah. So what happened during the event? Because you got a bit annoyed about something. Do you want to talk about that?
Well, the thing is, people don't necessarily know how to talk to me. I mean, they know I'm trans, and I think sometimes they're a bit curious about it. So someone says to me, how far are you along now with your, transition? And
so what they're basically trying to say is, have you had the surgery? That's the question.
Yeah, and I was like, why? I'm halfway through a sticky toffee pudding. I don't want to talk about my potential for surgery. Do you know what I mean? So I kind of get it. I kind of know maybe why they're asking, because they might be concerned about me, whatever.
When they ask that question, it's probably coming from a good place, but they just don't realise that it's a really inappropriate question.
But when somebody says to you, do you think you're going to get the, you're going to go the whole way and get the, I'm like, Are you asking me in front of 25 people, am I going to get a vagina?
So
you know what I mean?
Makes you wonder, would that person have asked a cisgender woman the same question? I mean, obviously not the same question, but, about surgery in a private area on their body.
No, of course they wouldn't. They wouldn't, no, because I'm an anomaly. But it's not comfortable, is it? Because I'm usually quite sharp with people. So if somebody asked me something like that in any other setting, if it wasn't work, I'd have said something like, are you going to grow some balls? I would say something like that. But in that setting, I said, no, I'm just getting, I just want to eat my pudding. Leave me alone.
Yeah, it's a bit of an annoying question, really.
Yeah. But you see, on that subject, it's kind of sensitive because, as we know, as trans women, that surgery, I mean, it's such a big deal.
It is. It's a huge deal.
And it's not something that is perfect. See, one of the things I think about with that is I don't have to have anything done to my body to be who I am.
No.
You know what I mean? I am who I am now.
But there's so many barriers put in place to get to the point where you can have surgery. I mean, I have a friend who was about to have surgery, and they'd gone down there, they'd spoken to the pre-assessment thing that they do, and it was all stopped because one of the medical things that you're supposed to meet wasn't quite right. So all cancelled. Can't go any further. I don't mind openly saying that I have not had surgery, and I can't have it yet because I need to lose some weight. So that's, it's another medical barrier. You've gone through all this.
These doctors say that about everything,
Yeah, but you go through all this kind of process through the GIC and, all your paperwork and all these things. And you get down there for your first kind of appointment with them. And they go through everything and everything's fine, except I need to lose weight. So it's another set of hurdles before you get to the final thing,
Yeah, but this is why I always talk about, when I talk about what it is to be trans, there are like 3 layers really for me. There's the psychological side, and there's a physical side, and there's a philosophical side, and they're not discrete from each other. Now, with the physical side, the barrier isn't necessarily, it's to do with technology for me, because it's such traumatic surgery and because it isn't perfected necessarily, there's a lot of things that could go wrong there.
Yeah.
There's not enough research into it. There's not enough money invested into it because it's not, it's not common possibly. But it's like the idea that people don't, like, there's this idea that some trans women don't do it because they're not properly like there's some sort of hierarchy of trans where you're more of a trans woman if you've had the whole operation. Do you know what I mean? I've heard.
Yeah.
It's like it's like you're some kind of
it's a
project.
It's a personal choice. Nobody has to have
I'm not a project about myself. Do you know what I mean? I'm already a whole person.
Mm-hmm.
But I recognize that physically my body is in incongruence with my psychological and philosophical being, but that doesn't mean that I beat myself. I don't hate my body necessarily. I know. See, this is the thing with dysphoria. I know some people have that dysphoria, but my dysphoria is not about necessarily the body. It's about being accepted socially. So, like, say if I was out somewhere and somebody was to call me Mr., that would be dysphoric to me, not because of physical things. It's to do with the social interaction. I was like, can you not see who I am? Do you know what I mean?
Can you not? I mean, people interact with you, on a social level, don't they? They're not
exactly.
They're not interacting with your genitals. Well, not on the.
It's like what I said on Twitter. It's like, sex is your hardware, gender is your software, and people don't interact with your hardware. It's like the program you are running is what you're communicating.
It's like when you go to the supermarket to do your shopping, people are interacting with you as you present, aren't they? It's not nothing to do with your sexual.
I mean, I'm sure the lady at the checkout is like, has this person got a penis?
Now, if the lady at the checkout was to ask me that question, not quite sure what I'd do, but
Have you heard of this concept of gender euphoria?
yeah.
Well, see what that is. It's like, you know, when I'm out with my mum sometimes, and my mum meets a friend. My mum's 82, by the way. My mum meets a friend when she's out with me, and when my mum says, "Hiya, this is my daughter," that is that is like
Gender euphoria.
golden.
Yeah.
It's absolutely golden to me, because that's like saying my mum accepts me and she's happy to let, you know, there's no problem there
Yeah.
with people, and people just accept me. Now, gender criticals might say your mum is lying to her friend about who, but she's not, because she knows that that's how people communicate.
Yeah. It's really
Like
simple, really, isn't it?
when I'm at work and somebody says to me, like I was at Manchester Children's Hospital recently, and one of the parents says to me, to one of the children, "Say thank you to the ambulance lady." That's gender euphoria. That is like it's wonderful to hear, because it's like, oh gosh, you know.
So you're being
and
respected in the gender that you present as.
Exactly, and it's like, and it's when somebody is saying to you, they might not even recognise that I'm trans, but that is part of it. Now, if I was to say to that person, by the way, it probably wouldn't come up in conversation, but if I was to say to that parent, you know, I'm a trans woman. Now, if that was to change the mood, then I would know I had a problem, but I don't think it would.
No.
I don't think it would. And because when I interact with parents and children, they know, you know, it's not the trans bit that's important. It's the fact that I care about the outcomes and the positive outcomes for their child. And that's what I do. You know, that's my job.
Yeah.
And that was part of my...
Sorry, go on.
I was going to say that was part of my point when I spoke to Dan Wooten on GB News.
No, we will do. We're going to do a podcast on the bit you did, and we'll do a kind of, you know, a stop, play, pause, and we'll have a little chat around.
Yeah, I want to do like a reaction video to it, because
we'll do that.
But the negative stuff that I got
I
on
know
Twitter,
the negative stuff on Twitter.
Oh my
was
God, I had to mute my Twitter for 24 hours because
it was just going on and on and on.
I was frightened. You know, honestly, Vicky.
There was I know there was some pretty kind of well-known gender crits having a go at you. I noticed.
Oh yeah. But the problem is the well-known gender crits bring along their little attack dog trolls. So when Maya Forstater retweeted that clip, I knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
And I've saved every single one of those tweets, because that is evidence to me that all the people that follow her are coming from a very negative place. Now, whenever one of those women says they're fighting for women's rights or doing things for
women, why are they attacking you?
Exactly, and it's completely duplicitous when they say that they care about women's rights or
no. But
there
was some comments in that Twitter feed which were pure hatred and just saying nasty things about you. Nothing, not even related to the news piece.
Okay, trigger warning. I'll tell you some of the things I got. I got caught. People said you need to get your hard drive checked. That was one. And then when I ignored that, it was like, you need to stay away from children. And I've got called just people saying, yes, you're a man. Why are you pretending to be a woman?
Yeah, and what do any of these things have to do with the question that was asked around police officers and strip searches? Absolutely nothing. There's no connection. It's just have a go at Freda because she's a trans woman. That's all they were doing.
And that's it. And they're all coming from. They're all. Guess who they're all following?
They're all following the same bunch of people. Yeah.
Guess who though? J.K. Rowling.
Oh, the wizard.
They're all following every single one of these people is following J.K. Rowling. Now, if I was J.K. Rowling, I'd have a good look at myself.
And I would make it, see who follows you and why.
And I would make a tweet that said, "Look, I'm really sorry. I might, you know, if she had any sense of self-awareness,
you never know.
You never know. She might. It might be that, you know, that sort of moment of clarity moment.
Don't hold your breath.
Because the same people that come for me would come for her on any other day.
Yeah. You also did another podcast this week with
Iseult.
Is it Iseult? Iseult White.
Iseult White.
Yeah,
Well,
so
yeah,
that was the previous. That's been put out as podcast number 9, Gender Nebulous 9, and it's got a lot of attention. There's been a lot of people watching that one, Freda.
Well, the thing that came out of that was because I am trying to do a series where I talk to people who are gender critical.
Yeah.
And I'm not doing it because I want to antagonize them, and it's not because I want to.
It was a really good interview. We spoke about it a little bit last week, but
and she was nice, you know. But you've got to be mindful of the fact that she is sharing and retweeting stuff.
Yeah,
that is,
and she's continued to do that since the interview.
Yeah, but it's not my job to police people's tweets. But I she was very angry with me actually because I told her that I was actually reporting and was in a police investigation about Kelly J. Keane, which is something I am doing because it's not about. She thinks it's about shutting people's free speech down. Right, it's not about that. It's about cataloguing a series of events. So if the police don't know, they won't have a pattern forming. Whereas people report things, the police will see a pattern. Now I know this because there was a very famous case of hate crime in Manchester around a girl called Sophie Lancaster. Now, Sophie Lancaster wasn't trans, but she was beaten up and murdered because she looked different. And she was like a goth emo girl, but there was a pattern of abuse, but they never reported it. So it was all of a sudden it seemed this girl was murdered, but it was happening constantly. So the police in Manchester said, we're going to have a hate crime reporting unit, and they based it in Affleck's Palace in Manchester. So like these emo kids, these goth kids who were getting all this abuse on the bus when they were going clubbing or whatever could say this is and the police formed a pattern and they knew where it was coming from, and because of that they managed to sort of reduce the hate crimes in the city. Now that's what it's about. It's not getting somebody arrested necessarily. It's not about getting somebody reprimanded and told to shut up. You can say whatever you like, but when you see a pattern of abuse on the street, the police need to know about it because that might prevent a horrific, more important crime from happening. It's incremental. You know, murders of trans people or abuses of trans people don't just happen randomly.
I mean, it's like domestic violence. That's incremental. It gets worse and worse as time goes on.
Exactly. And this is the thing. Like, this is the thing about that. Like, people like Maya Forstater and Helen Joyce, they betraying feminism, because what women will tell you is they get into situations or they get locked into situations because of systemic misogyny, and they tell themselves all the time, oh, I'll put up with it, maybe it's okay, maybe I'm wrong, and before you know it, some poor, you know, I don't even want to. I mean, I've experienced this myself where through my job, domestic abuse. It's, you know, I've turned up to houses and I've pulled people out of that situation because I'm saying you don't need to be in this house. And I've took people to but the problem with that is it's so underfunded. There's so little help that when you try and intervene, you say, well, what am I going to do with this person? You know, I can't take them to A&E. I can't take them to a refuge because they have to be booked in. There's a waiting list. It's awful. And blaming trans women is the least of the. It should be the least of their fucking worries, to be honest. Sorry.
No, I mean, you said in the interview they're looking the wrong way. You had that conversation with Lisa Townsend. You know, you were saying to her they're looking the wrong way. They're looking at trans women and these stupid issues they bring up. And meanwhile,
but when I've listened to the thing is, when I've listened to women talk to me on the street, I spoke to people with drug and alcohol addictions, homeless women. Homeless men as well. It's men as well. It's mainly men that are homeless, but you do see women. But none of them have ever said, "Oh, there's a problem." You know, the trans women are a problem. You know, none of those women who are on the edge of society, who are prostitutes, they don't actually. Trans women are their allies because there are trans women on the street for the same fucking reasons. Do you know prostitution? There was a place in Manchester. I don't want to name any places in Manchester just because, but it was like a brothel, and there was prostitutes there, and some of them were trans. So that's where women and trans women intersect there, because it's that desperation. They're not doing it because they want to do it, and they're being abused while they're doing it, but nobody gives a fuck because they just like people like, people that have any kind of control and power, and police commissioners and people that make decisions don't want to look at that.
Yeah.
And that's the
I mean,
sad
you summed it up
fact of it.
perfectly when you had that conversation with GB News, when you were telling them they're looking the wrong way. And I think they were actually shocked by that. I think I saw the penny drop. I'm sure I did. When you said that.
I saw the penny. If you look at Dan, if you watch that and look at Dan Wotton's face,
exactly.
Because I tell you what, something that did happen. When I had done that interview, I got an email from the team and they said, we really liked what you did. And I wasn't expecting that, but they're quite a young team of people. The people on the screen are not the people.
No, not the same people in the background. No.
Do you know the people that do the running around and do the booking? They're young people that are on media studies degrees.
So they'll understand.
And they contacted me and said, because,
do some
but
more.
unfortunately, the people that pay their wages are, funded by lobby groups like the New Culture Forum and Tufton Street.
Yeah. Are you going to do some more interviews then, if you get the chance?
Well, I've got one lined up. The Sonia Poulton.
Okay.
Sonia Poulton is somebody that
going
does.
to be on GB News as well, or something separate?
No. She does her own thing called Rise, but she's somebody that's very on the gender critical thing. And I've looked at some of her tweets, and she's very much in that stream of, talking about women's prisons, talking about women's sports being invaded by trans women. So I'm quite happy to challenge her opinions as long as she's, if she's got something to say, I'll listen. So
I look forward to the next one. It was good.
But I won't let her off if she's.
No. So I've also had my Christmas do this week.
Oh yes.
On Friday afternoon.
Did anybody ask you if you've got a vagina?
No, they didn't. My team knows better.
You work for well, you're a very inclusive organisation.
We are a very inclusive organisation, and I'm kind of in charge of it a little bit at my site. So I kind of I drum it home. Let's say I make sure people realise what's going on. So we went to the. Have you been to the Roxy in Manchester near
the Roxy
Victoria Station?
Do you know what? It's something. It's not really something. I have been in there, but it's not my. I'm cool. You see, I'm a hipster, so I go to the Northern Quarter. I go to
it's very close to the Northern Quarter. I didn't really get to choose where we were going, so we went in there. We were playing 10-pin bowling. We were playing. Have you played shuffleboard before?
Is that like?
It's like these little round metallic.
I know what you mean.
They're like the size of a biscuit. About that thing, and they're on a like a wooden table which is covered in microscopic sand, and you have to throw them down the table, and there's lines on the table where you have to try and make them stop. It's good fun.
Right. So did you win?
I got pretty close to winning. Wasn't very good with the bowling though. I almost came last in the bowling. But anyway, it was good fun. It was nice to get out with the team.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, I had a couple of days off this week as well, doing some R&R.
Well, I mean, it's not somebody. I have been there, but it's not somewhere I'd normally go because, I've got my own little team of queers that go around.
Yeah. Northern Quarter and Canal Street would be more fun, but I couldn't really drag my team down to Canal Street. I don't think they would have appreciated that. But maybe.
You see, with me, I haven't got a lot of patience for the kind of heteronormative kind of guys that go out and works Christmas dues and walk around Deansgate with, shoes with no socks, and I just can't be doing with it.
There was a lot of that going on. It was Manchester was super busy. There was all kinds of people out doing Christmas dues. It was fun.
But There's a lot of that's the problem with Manchester city centre at this time of year, because you've got all
It's
your works
absolutely
Christmas
rammed.
do.
There was so
People
many
that don't
people
go
around.
out ever suddenly want to have a good
everybody's
time.
out getting drunk. Yeah. Anyway, so should we get on with our news topics this week?
Yeah. What's the the first one? Can I introduce this?
Yes, go for it.
I listened to this on Woman's Hour, but actually it was on the Today programme first. Lady Susan Hussey she was forced to quit, wasn't she?
Well, by the way, she's a baroness as well.
Oh, another baroness.
So it's another baroness getting herself in trouble.
Well, what happened really?
I don't know where they get all these baronesses from. There's like a factory of baronesses down in London somewhere.
Is it Ngozi Fellini?
Yes.
And she was talking to this lady. We know the story if you've been following it, but she was talking to this lady, and Lady Hussey said, "Where are you from?" Obviously, this is a black lady, and she said Hackney, I think.
Yeah.
And then Hussey's like, "Well, where are you really from?"
Yeah.
And,
trying to
dig on her heritage,
being very racist.
And I'm thinking, right. At first, I thought, when I first heard this story, I thought, is this been blown out of proportion? But no, it really hasn't, because she was I think she was abusive to this lady.
She was abusive, and she wouldn't give up. She was kept pressing the question.
Yeah.
Like, where are you from, or where are you really from?
What's interesting to me, though,
it's terrible. I don't understand how these people in those kind of positions, how can they be so out of touch? It's like,
they invite these people to the royal household from charities.
Well, she's the godparent to what's his name?
Prince Harry.
No, the other one.
It's William.
William, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the thing that's interesting to me is imagine if the Queen, I mean, God bless her soul, R.I.P. and all that, but if somebody said to the Queen, "Where are you from?" and they'd said, "Where are you really from?" and she'd have to say,
"Where are you people from?"
Germany. Where are you actually from? Oh, from Hamburg. Oh, but where are you really from? Oh, from the richest, most landowning families of Europe.
Yeah.
So this idea of like this, when somebody asks somebody where they're from, if somebody asked me where I'm from, I'd say Farnworth. But it doesn't go any further than that, because I'm white.
The irony of this situation is that the event that they were at was a domestic abuse event.
Yeah. It's about women. It's about because it's about women that are working for the betterment of society.
Yeah.
And what is Lady Hussey doing, and who is she? Because these are the kind of baronesses that work their way into the House of Lords.
I mean, you don't get much higher than Susan Hussey.
But it just goes to the Queen. It goes to show, doesn't it, just how endemic class is in our culture.
Absolutely.
Because, like, there were even people I thought were quite liberal saying, "Oh well, the lady was 83. My grandma says racist things."
My mum's 86. But she doesn't say shit like that.
Yeah, but I tell you what, my dad used to say stuff all the time that was racist. It didn't make him right.
No.
He might have been nice other times, but if he was ever racist, I'd always pull him up on it. Do you know what I mean?
Well, Lady Hussey has gone now, hasn't she? So.
What a name, though, Baroness. It sounds like a porn name, doesn't it? Baroness Hussey.
I don't know what she's the Baroness of. I think she's...
Baroness Hussey in a first anal scene.
Baroness Hussey of North Bradley, wherever that is. Hello, North Bradley, by the way. You have
to be honest, I'm more royal. I am more landed than any of these people.
Baroness Wallace.
Yeah. Well, what's the Scottish version of a baroness? I don't know. Duchess. Anyway, I talk about this every podcast, don't I?
You do. So that was quite an amusing one, if not annoying as well.
It's not. I mean, we're making light of it, but the problem is that this is so endemic, and if you think it only happens in the royal household, you're very much mistaken. This goes right through to every layer of government.
That class seems to suffer from it a lot, don't they?
But if you think of it as a layer cake, right? You've got the royal household here, you've got the House of Lords, then you've got the government, and it all filters down. But the problem is, like, you'll get,
It's a class system. It's absolutely it's full of racism.
But
it wasn't until the '60s. I think in the '60s, the royal household was still, not employing people.
But what the media are doing now, what you've noticed in the media now, they've created a nice distraction because they've got this Harry and Meghan versus William and Kate thing going on.
I know. So William and Kate have gone over to the States, and is it because of this event that they're causing the problem with Harry? I don't really understand what's going on there.
Well, you know what happened with Meghan. I think Meghan's
she was treated very racially, wasn't she, as well?
Yeah, and that, at the time,
and I think it was this Baroness that was behind it. To be honest,
possibly because, I mean, no, I don't think it was just her. To be honest, I think it's the whole fucking royal household.
But you can see where it comes from. I mean, it's so obvious.
But the thing is, now we live in a social media world, and I think Harry and Meghan understand that more than anybody, especially Meghan, because it's not like I've always thought of the royal family as a kind of nationalized reality TV show, which we all pay a bit of money into it, so we can have a bit of entertainment. But now it can become privatized because there's enough media scope out there for them to make enough money doing podcasts, doing book deals, doing TV appearances on the gravy.
I'd say good luck to Harry and Meghan. That's exactly what they're doing.
But yeah, my heart is with Harry and Meghan because Meghan is the only woman in the world that could potentially be a queen. Probably wouldn't happen, and president of the United States of America. That is a potential thing, and that's what fucking scares them to death.
Yeah.
And
I really do respect those two. Yeah.
Don't get me ranting.
No.
But the thing about this story, just to recap, is it's just pure, unadulterated racism.
Racism and abuse. Yep.
And that lady, Fulani, was right to speak up.
She was. And there was other people there who heard exactly what happened. So it's not.
But the attitude is like, oh no, don't be quiet. We've got to keep the British lady. The privileged white British ladies are not nasty.
Well, one thing I can say, for the palaces, they acted really quickly.
Get fucked.
They acted really
fast.
It's not you. No, but the palace acted really fast in response to it, which is, I guess that's because they understand the gravity of it.
They understand the mistake they've made. If this hadn't gone to the media, nobody'd be fucking talking about it.
If it hadn't broke. Yeah, it would probably just been brushed under the royal carpet.
It happens all the time, but people don't talk about it. All that's happened this time is Ngozi Fulani. Is it Fulani? Sorry,
I think
Fulani has managed to talk about it, and the media's been interested.
I think she's the head of a charity called Sister Space. I think it's in London somewhere. Yeah.
But this charity, they benefit from being invited to the royal household.
But wouldn't you think though that the royal household would do a briefing to the people who are going to attend, around who the people are that are coming? Isn't there some kind of briefing? No, this person's coming from this charity. This person's coming from this charity. And surely those people in those positions should know not to do the shit that they just did.
Well, I've got a
how can they be so backward? It's like,
I've got to recommend for anybody listening who's interested in these kind of politics, and it's called Dem. So if you follow Dem they do a magazine, and they've got a really good Twitter, and they post this kind of discourse a lot about the way black representation in the media and just stories really of black women, and it's really good. So
moving on.
Should we go to the
Liberal Democrats?
I'll let you introduce this because I don't know. I know this is about the Liberal Democrats, isn't it?
Well, there's been a story where a lot of Liberal Democrats have been quitting the party after senior officials have revised a transphobia statement, which is holding gender critical views is protected by law. That's what they've added into their statement. Now,
but isn't that already the case?
Well, I think they've made this change based on what's happened, with a few cases recently. But that's fine. But it's not really about what the law is. It's more about the bullying and the harassment that goes along with it. So, okay, yeah, you can say what you like, free speech, all that nonsense. But it's freedom of thought, isn't it? So, although they're saying you can hold gender critical views and that's legal, you can't act upon them. You can't harass people. You can't bully people because of that view.
Well, the way I understand it is you can hold any view. I mean, I could believe in Santa.
Yeah, it could be anything, but you just can't act on it, if it includes bullying and harassment.
Yeah, so for example, like if you were in a workplace and there's a trans woman present, this doesn't mean that you can suddenly discriminate and exclude that person.
Yeah, you can hold the view and not agree with it. And no one's going to stop you from doing that, but you can't act upon it in a harassing or bullying way.
It's always interesting the way that they frame these kind of things. Very interesting. So it's as if there's one group of people that believe one thing and one group of people that believe another. But most people, it's like when I'm at work, people know. Some people know I'm trans and they talk to me. If somebody wanted to talk to me about my identity, I'm quite happy to talk about that if it's coming from a good place. If somebody was to just come up to me and go, "You're a man," that would render them an idiot.
That's harassment, isn't it? That's harassment.
But it's not even harassment. It's just them making a show of themselves.
Well, it's bullying. You were bullied on Twitter this week by all those people following that story. Yeah,
but the way it works in employment law is
it's different.
Like if I'm at work and somebody doesn't want to work with me because I'm trans, or somebody doesn't want to have a professional relationship with me, that is not my problem. That is a problem between them and my employer.
Correct.
And that's how it works. So by them making that statement, it removes me. That my employer will say, "Look, you're not going to work with that person because we protect you." And because
the employer has an obligation to provide a safe environment for everybody to work in.
Exactly. So it's not me saying it, because a lot of gender criticals will say I'm forcing them to accept my womanhood. No, I'm not. I just want you to be. I just want to do the job. And if you can't do the job because of me, that isn't my fucking problem.
How is it different? If you're religion, whatever, and they don't like that religion, how is it different to that? It's no different. I can give you.
I mean, I used to work with a nurse who was a Christian, and she would try and give me sometimes gospel verses. And I'd say, "Look, I'm not religious. I respect you, whatever you want to believe, but I'm not religious, and so I'm not really interested." Now, she didn't continue to do that, so that's fine. But if she'd have then said, "Look, God is the way. You need to stop what you're doing. You need to believe what I say," then that is a problem.
Yeah, exactly.
That is exactly the same dynamic,
it's the action that they're taking based on their belief. That's the problem.
So if somebody was to give me a leaflet that said Jesus is the way, and I said, "Oh, fine, yeah, I put it in my bag, I forget about it," that's the end of that. But if they kept saying, "Have you read that leaflet? What do you think about it? Are you a Satanist?" then that's a problem. And that is how it works. Yeah. So the employer I would say, "Look, I'm having this problem with this person. They keep trying to make me believe something, or they're trying to tell," and so it can become a disciplinary action. So gender criticals will say, "That's what I'm doing because I'm trans, so I'm trying to convince them." I'm not. I don't care if you think I'm a man or a woman or what. I'm there to do a job.
Exactly.
And if you can't communicate me, you look at it. It's another thing is it's to do with consensus. Like most people in my place of work will call me, female pronouns, call me Miss, whatever it is, that just the female. So if somebody was to say Mr. randomly to me, that would be a bit weird. And if I said, can you not do that because I do identify as female? And then if they decided, no, they're not going to do that because they think I'm
then it's
a
a
man,
problem. Then it's a problem.
then it creates a problem, not for me, because I can just walk away. It creates a problem for the employer.
Yeah,
and
because
that's
they
the
then
law.
have to deal with that individual and
Exactly,
maybe
because
put them in a
they are
different office
breaking
or something.
now if you lived in a world where the majority of people believe that person, then the law would support that person. But we don't live in that world, thank fuck. But that's the world that gender critical people want.
That's what
they want.
That's what they think we live in.
And that is why they weaponize these arguments, because they want the general public to think trans people are a threat, because they want to force that view that being trans is, not just a whim. They think it's something that's not normal. They think it's something that's imagined. And not just that, but they want people to think it's a threat. Because the way they can win people over is by saying trans women are a problem. But most of those people are like, well, Freda's not a problem. She's lovely.
I can vouch for Freda. She's lovely. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, even if I was horrible, it wouldn't be because I'm trans, would it? Do you know? And I know a lot of horrible trans women.
Hope you're not including me in that.
No names mentioned. Well, it's not. That's not the thing, is it?
No.
But the way that they try and frame the argument is always trans women are some malevolent folk. They're trying to infect your spaces and infiltrate your toilets and get into your sports, and there'll be no women left in the future.
We're not doing any of that, by the way. It's So, Wizard Lady's been in the news this week as well.
Oh, not her again.
The lady who shall not be named. Well, it's not really about Wizard Lady. It's about Helena Bonham Carter has come out defending the Wizard Lady, over her kind of position on trans rights and trans people. She's been saying that she believes the backlash against JKR is horrendous, saying that Harry Potter author has been hounded because of her comments on trans people. It's very similar to the kind of the position that we were talking about another author last week. Well, I can't remember his name. Stephen Fry.
Oh, that was him.
It's very similar to what he was. Well, obviously not as bad, but it's a similar kind of situation, isn't it? Where Stephen Fry was saying he's friends with her and he wants everybody to get along and be nice and play bridge together. But now she's.
The reason these things are connected is these people are from a very specific strata of society. The Helena Bonham Carter, I think she's like second cousin in line to the throne or something.
But have you noticed that there's been a sudden kind of raft of people all coming out in support of JKR all of a sudden? They all seem to be, there's something going on behind the scenes, because there's been one after the other, people coming out in support of it.
I don't think it's what happens is, now when journalists interview people, they have a checklist and they can get controversial opinions out of people, because what journalists want is their article to trend. They want their article to be, in the top so many shared, because that improves their career. So one of the questions they can ask a celebrity or somebody that's been involved in Harry Potter is, what do you think about the trans row? Because they know once the word trans appears algorithmically in Twitter, then the bloody shares go up and then the likes go up, and before you know it, you've got like 15,000 retweets.
But everybody seems to conveniently forget the fact that the Wizard Lady was at that expensive lunch in London with pretty much every gender crit on the planet. You remember that?
Well,
so I mean, how do you explain that? If you're not transphobic and you don't have gender critical views, or you try to claim that and you try and make your friends say that in public for you, how do you explain that lunch? Like, why were you with a bunch of gender crits having lunch?
Well, exactly. Well, we know that what J.K. Rowling is very successful at doing is getting other people to do her work. So she'll throw money at things, and I
wonder if she realizes that she's being used for her money.
No, but it's not just that. I don't know I can't tell you what personally motivates J.K. Rowling. Nobody can say that. But what I can tell you is she does retweet and she does boost the accounts of people who are gender critical, and that is obvious.
Yeah.
So, because the question is always, what has J.K. Rowling said that's transphobic? Can you point to me something that she said that's...
Go look.
Well, there it is. It's like, what has it... What I'll tell you what, ask the question, what has she said that is pro-trans? Absolutely nothing.
Think of anything.
So when people try to call her out, and she used to say, one of her first tweets actually on this subject was, I will stand with you. I don't hate trans people, blah, blah, blah. But she's never supported anything, in to do with her. And when the Harry Potter cast, like Emma Watson and Daniel, is it Radcliffe?
Yeah.
Whenever they speak out, she never comments on that, because she knows she knows exactly what they're criticizing. Now, the thing with Helen Bonham Carter, I've never liked her. I've never liked her as an actress, and I've never liked her as a personality, because she comes from that. It's kind of the same reason I don't like PJ Harvey, because they come from a fox hunting class of people.
I don't know. That's why Helena Carter.
I know about these people. Honestly, I've read about them. I know they come from that class of people, the upper middle class, lower landed gentry, and that's where they reside, and they don't understand why. There was a quote by her once saying it. People don't understand what it's like being pretty and popular, and I remember Kathy Burke. Kathy Burke, the actress. She was like, she can royally fuck off to Helen Bonham Carter, because she recognizes that energy. She recognizes that British class system and the upper echelons of it. And Helena Bonham Carter definitely belongs to that, and she can fuck off as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I think
you can quote me on that as well.
I don't need to. You just said it yourself. I don't need to quote.
But it's just annoying to me, because
it is annoying.
I'll tell you why, Alan. I'll tell you one other reason Helen Bonham Carter annoys me is because she almost ruined Fight Club. Have you seen Fight Club?
I haven't watched the Fight Club.
Well, you can't. It's a great film, but why she was in it, I'll never know. She probably paid for it.
So anyway, that's enough of the Wizard Lady for one day.
But it's not about class necessarily, because there are people in that class group that are not bad people. I'm not saying because people in a certain class, they're bad. But a certain privilege allows you to ignore systemic problems in society. So somebody like Tilda Swinton is the same kind of class, but she's a completely different person because she recognizes something else about the world. I don't know if you know who I'm talking about, but she's one of those. No, she was an actress in. What's she in now? She's in a lot of art films, and that's how I know her. But anyway, that's a bit of a tangent.
So yeah, enough of the Wizard Lady.
Enough slagging off Helena Bonham Carter.
Yeah, I mean, it's just another one of those stories where someone's come out in support of the Wizard Lady, and it's just like they're all getting on the same bus. It's very odd.
So can we talk about this?
So there was you want to talk about this teenager in Colorado?
Yes, who's had to flee Texas.
Yeah. So this was.
I mean, to be honest, I'd flee Texas if I was in.
Well, Texas, has. I think it's had at least 50 bills targeting trans people in the past year or two.
Yeah,
one of the highest in the States, if not the highest. So there was a story that caught my eye on NBC, and it was around a mum and her trans son who were having to leave Texas and move to Colorado because they were trying to escape the anti-trans laws that are being passed in Texas. So there's a film that they've put out on NBC Out, and it's called Dear Noah. The people in it are Katie.
Just
Katie Laird, I think it is.
I'm just looking
and
at it
son
now.
Noah.
Yeah.
I've not watched it, but I intend to watch it. It looks like a really interesting film. And what happened to Noah is he lost access to gender-affirming healthcare in Texas, and that's the reason they're having to move to Colorado. So, it's a horrible situation that they find themselves in. It's happening a lot in the US, all over, mainly in the southern states. But yeah, I mean, I would encourage people to watch that because it'll probably explain a lot of what's been going on recently in the States with these laws.
What's been going on really is the American right, the exclusionary Christian right have found a cause in the trans issue. Are you aware of Matt Walsh?
It's all based on far right religion, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not just religious. I mean, I'm a bit reticent about always saying religious people because I think they use religion. I think these people like Matt Walsh
putting forward these laws.
What is their mission? What is it inside of them?
Background.
I mean, it's like I want to know what is it inside of these people that makes them want to pursue an agenda of is it hate? Is it?
It's misguided. It's misguided because they're always looking at it as we're protecting the children, but you're actually doing damage to the children.
It always turns. It's turned out time and time again, and recently, that the people that say they're protecting children or trying to protect children who go on about that, who turn out to be the abusers. And that's what worries me about people like Matt Walsh and people like Ben Shapiro and people like DeSantis. And it's because they're so vocal about morality and they're so clinging to the idea of, righteousness that they frighten me. And like I've never ever had to stand on a soapbox and moralize about who I am. But the people that do that always tend to have a hole in their heart somewhere. Yeah. Do like this horrible darkness about them. Like, if you're somebody that has to constantly rhetoric about, protecting children, that should be a default position anyway. Why do you need to stand up and talk about it? It's like staring into the abyss when you listen to these people. And I have listened to these people because I want to know what the dynamic is there. So I'm listening to these people and I'm thinking, this reminds me of something. And what it reminds me of is, those awful kind of medicine men, kind of duplicitous preachers that would try and extort money out of people on a carnival stage. And that's exactly, the carnival stage now is YouTube. The carnival stage is Twitter. And they're extorting money out of the weakest people. They're extorting money out of people that are moral, not morally weak, but they're frightened. People are generally frightened because all the time they're hearing about groomers, pedophiles, and people want to medicalize you, and the whole COVID thing plays into that. And on one level, some of that is justified because when you hear about people like Epstein and people in power that are corrupt, it all plays into this idea that there's something out to get you. But the way these people have been able to play it is it's like, look over there, don't look at the government.
It's also very politicized, isn't it? Because it's all kind of linked into MAGA, Trump.
Oh yeah, but this isn't a reason because we're coming. But you're going to see this ramp up now.
It's going to ramp up because the election's coming.
The election cycle, and in this country, don't expect this to go away anytime soon.
It's not.
Because when those people start backing their horse, and that horse becomes too big to fail,
and you're seeing the governor of Florida is like a rising star in the whatever that party's called.
These people are dangerous.
They are.
I kept saying, last week somebody's going to get hurt, but they've already got hurt. Look at what happened during the Black Lives Matter protests, and people were basically mown down by a right winger in a convertible car.
But it always comes back to right wing Republicans, guns, gun laws, religion. It always comes back to those things. And now they've somehow managed to stitch this like we've got to protect the children.
But I would never think in this country.
Ideology. But I mean, what about the trans kid who needs trans medical healthcare?
Exactly.
Like this one we're talking about. They've had to leave Texas because it's dangerous to live there. The other reason they had to leave is because there's laws in Texas now that makes them. They would go after the parents as child abusers for giving their child medical healthcare.
But they've really gone for this trans kids thing because that's double whammy, isn't it? Fear, because you can get the groomer thing, you can get the government control thing, you can get the big pharma thing, you can get every talking point in there and say, this is what's happened to mermaids, you see, because while we've talked about Susie Green and some of the, we were very careful, weren't we, to talk about mermaids because we know something went wrong there. But mermaids for 6 years have had a torrent and a relentless pummeling from the right and
they're not a huge charity. They're a small charity based in Leeds.
They're the only charity, and
it's the only one that was doing that work.
If there was one reason while Susie Green took her eye off the ball, it's because she had to deal with all this shit.
I mean, I can't imagine the pressure that Susie's been under. It must be absolutely horrendous. And every organisation is going to have problems, make mistakes. They all do it.
But
they've addressed
it doesn't excuse
what went wrong has been addressed and is being addressed.
But it doesn't excuse the mistake. But what I'm saying is, if Susie Green had been allowed to do her work, just get on with it. No hassle from religious organisations and people like Kelly J. Keane and all her attack dogs coming for her. If she'd have just been able to get on with that work, she might have been able to spot what was wrong. Finding somebody that had links to paedophilia, whatever it was, she might have been able to concentrate more. But she's been consumed and she's been eaten alive by these parasites that are coming from the gender critical side of things, and people like Caroline Farrow, and she's very well funded, by
they all seem to be very
right-wing organisations. So while I would say, I would never excuse negligence in any charity, part of that negligence I think has come about because the management of mermaids have had to deal with so much else than the work they should have been doing, which was just maybe having a little, get together for some parents of trans kids.
Yeah, supporting trans
which
kids,
you could
and
probably
families.
count
that's
on one
their
hand.
Core business. Just let them get on with it. It's like, goodness sake. It's not like they're giving out drugs or anything.
I'm getting angry now.
I know it is. It makes me angry too. So
it's maddening, I don't want to make the whole podcast like a rant.
Well, there's the US story. There's another US story which is better news. So this is the mayor of Washington DC, Muriel Bowser is the lady's name, and they have.
I think I missed this one.
They have passed a comprehensive law around trans and abortion sanctuary in that state. So it's human rights. The law is Human Rights Sanctuary Amendment 2022, protection for bodily autonomy, abortion, contraception, sexual conduct, intimate relationships, and gender affirmation. So this is like they've put this law in place, and they've kind of made their state into a sanctuary for people fleeing places like Texas. So there's 4 states that have done this now: DC, quite a small state but an important one, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and California. So that's good news.
Right.
This is like it's as though all the trans people and everybody else who's a minority are having to leave the central Midwest southern states and go and live in these states which have these more progressive laws. It's like there must be a mass migration going on in the US at the moment.
It's a weird kind of
thing
place in the States, isn't it? How different states have different.
Well, they do have different laws in different states, yeah.
But I think
But imagine, having to move. I mean, they've this family we were talking about have had to move into Colorado I'm not sure they have these laws, but yeah, you got one family moving, and you've got these other places setting up these sanctuaries.
Well, do you follow Cafals?
Sorry,
Cafals, the activist who got Kiwi farms shut down,
I haven't done recently. But...
Well, she was talking about this recently, and it's like, that the right wing have managed to destroy trans healthcare in a lot of states by lobbying. Now, that is the model that LGBA are following. That is the model that Sex Matters are following. And that is the model that Transgender Trend are following. And what they want to do, I think what they want to do is remove all the idea that a medical transition is possible. So if in the long game, if they wanted, if they could see it through, that is what the result of what they want. They don't want any medicalization of the idea of being trans. And it's happening in America, in certain states. But, it depends. See, so this next election cycle, that's why that's really scary, because
it is.
There are enough idiots out there, enough people that believe the Daily Mail, and enough idiots.
It's kind of right on the knife edge, isn't it? As to which way it can go.
This is my motivation for talking on the news and doing that, because if there's no trans voice, I don't want to have to stay up till bloody 10 o'clock at night and talk to Dan Wooten. But if I have to do it, I will. It's not because I'm like I don't know. I sometimes question myself, like, why am I doing this?
It's not an easy thing to do, Freda.
Why am I putting myself in a line of fire?
I'd find it difficult to go on there and do that. You did.
I'm not any kind of hero. You know what I mean? I'm like, but the reason for doing it is because if there's no trans voice in that equation, and there's nobody to point out to the public, like the way I see it, when I went on that show. I mean, I'm no kind of lawyer or barrister or anything like that, but if I'm advocating, I think of the audience as the jury, and the other person is the defendant, or I'm the defendant, whatever it is. But I've got to win the audience over, because they're the people that will vote at the end of the day.
I mean, GB News audience is probably quite a difficult audience.
Exactly, and it's an echo chamber that I wanted to break.
Absolutely.
But the problem is, like, when I come off something like that, and when we talk about these things, I'm going to get called a groomer, and I'm going to get called a sex predator, and I'm going to get called a pervert, and people are going to go through my Twitter and find pictures of me when I was at a club when I was half baked and use it as evidence against me. And it's like, anyway.
I know. I mean, you're brave going on, really.
I'm not brave.
You are. I mean, you're on national TV. Well, no, it's a shit channel, but you're on national TV.
Well,
I don't know how many people watch it.
My mum watched it.
Well,
I told my mum. Yeah, but she was what?
You made me watch it.
Do you know what she said?
You made me watch that shit. I was like,
do you know what, my mum? I'll tell you, this is my mum, right? You know what she said? She goes, "What you on about?" I had to explain it to her. I said, "Mum, it's it's like, I'm an oppressed minority. Please give me some money.
Give me some help." Another good news story. I think it's in Ireland. Period products have been introduced into men's toilets in the Parliament buildings of Ireland.
Yeah, there was a campaign called "In with the Bins."
In with the Bins. It's very similar to that. Yeah, the In with the Bins campaign was to introduce sanitary products and sanitary bins into all men's toilets, so that non-binary and trans men using those facilities have everything they need within them. It's a brilliant idea. Well done. Right. Well done, these people for doing this.
So yeah, but the thing is, this to me, it means like the toilet thing.
I mean, you should be able to, however you identify whichever toilet you use, you should be able to go in and get those products.
But why are those products in toilets
Well,
anyway?
they
I
don't
mean,
need
I
to be in
understand.
toilets, but
I
they are.
understand for
They're
women why,
dispensed in
but
toilets,
but
aren't they?
but surely a man could buy that product for a woman if she needed to, or
Yeah.
it's not like it's just.
Well, I mean, they're conveniently placed in toilets because one,
But
they
it's
can
like you
make
see
some
the
money off selling them, and two,
yeah,
it's
exactly.
conveniently
It's a
placed
it's
in
a
the toilet.
marketing
Yeah.
opportunity, but you see condom machines in the men's and tampon machines in the women's. I'm
Mm.
like, surely some woman might want to buy a condom. Does she
Well,
have to
yeah.
go in the men's because she's copped up with some guy who
And a
doesn't have any
trans man
rubbers?
or a non-binary person would want to buy tampons.
Exactly. Anyway, but
So you
if
make
you're
all
in
products
Manchester,
available in all toilets, and everything will be fine.
but you see, what should be the case is all this stuff should be free.
Well,
You
that's another
shouldn't have
story
to.
altogether. Yeah, it should be.
Yeah, but it's
Well,
like
some
in
places do
Manchester.
now. Some places you can go into, and there are free products available.
No, but what I'm saying is like when I've been out in Manchester and I've been in gender neutral toilets, you'll see a little
Yeah,
basket and it'll have some sanitary products in
yeah,
it. It'll have some condoms in it. It'll have some lube in it. It's
yeah.
not, it's not unusual now. And it's not expensive either. Because
The Feel Good
if
Club
you,
has that, doesn't it?
yeah, if you're caught short somewhere as a lady and you need a bit, the product there, it's
Well,
there for you. You
yeah.
don't have to put any money in a machine.
I think one of the things that people were worried about is that men would react badly to seeing this in their toilets. But then, if you think about the sanitary bins can be used for all kinds of reasons. It's not just
Oh well.
someone who's on a period. Someone has a colostomy bag or something, or some other medical
Well,
reason why they need a sanitary bin.
that's
they need
exactly
to
what I was going
change
to
a
say
dressing or
because
something. They can put it in the sanitary waste. There's many reasons why you might want to
well,
use a sanitary bin, but the bins are just not available in men's toilets.
well, I had a situation with at work with a patient, and she's a lady, and she said, "Look, I need to go to the toilet because." And I said, "What's the matter?" And I didn't want to press her on what was the matter, but she told me I've come on my period, and I say that's fine. You know what I mean? It's like it's none of my fucking business. But the problem was she didn't have any fucking money for the machine.
Yeah, it should be free.
So so why are we doing that to people? Just make these things free in public spaces. And also, like something happened to me
I
recently.
mean, they're not that. To manufacture these things is really cheap. They might sell
But you
them
can
for,
still,
the
but you
cost of
see the thing
manufacturing is dirt cheap.
as the condom industry collapsed because everywhere you go in the gay areas and big cities, you'll see free condoms and you'll see free lube, and it has what the way that they do it, they advertise things on the packaging and they're very creative with it, and it hasn't affected the sales of other things because of it. So but it all comes down to this tax laws and things like that. I don't know, but I don't know.
But yeah,
I
I
just
mean,
think, and
whoever was behind that initiative in Ireland, well done. I
yeah,
think that's
exactly. And
really good.
also, you need bins for other things, like
Yeah,
because clinical waste is
yeah,
not just that.
it can be anything, literally anything.
It's like I had a problem recently because I've got a Prince Albert piercing and I got it trapped in my zipper. I pulled it up and I started bleeding.
Ouch.
So if anybody wants to know what a Prince Albert piercing is,
Yeah,
Google.
Google it.
But I've got to sit down to wee. But sometimes I'll stand up because it's easier
Hey,
if I'm
it's
outdoors.
your choice. It's your choice, Freda.
I'm pro-choice.
Pro-choice. So another piece of good news. Did you see the University Challenge?
I
There
did.
was a team on there from Robert Gordon University. I think it's a Scottish university, and the
Emily.
captain of the team was trans woman. I think Emily Cullen.
I don't like using trans girl
Well, she's young, so
unless she's
a
under
young
16.
young lady at university. So she's
Trans lady. No, she's a trans woman. Let's just say
she's
it.
a trans woman. Okay. Her team won. They won 210 to 90, and I think they were playing the University of Roehampton. So great story. They won, but guess what happened?
Go on, let me guess.
Go on, have a guess. I'll
Let
read
me
out
guess.
I've got it on my screen here. I'll read it out there.
Some Burks
University
on
Challenge
Twitter.
contestant who led her team to victory has been celebrated as brilliant by viewers, despite the predictable fury of a handful of transphobic trolls. So she's been heavily trolled, just for being trans and winning University Challenge. What the hell?
Can I read one of the tweets?
Go for it.
Can I read one of the tweets? Because I'm going to... Yeah. I went, sick of trying to follow and tag quiz shows with all these ugly, miserable MFers, motherfuckers, spraying their hateful shit all over it when anybody is straight, gender conforming person. Jesus, fuck. Keep your misery to yourselves. You self-loathing pieces of shit. I love that. That should be framed. That's a brilliant tweet.
Yeah, I'm just saying
that is actually the best analysis. We can't do any better than Helen Downey.
Why would you attack somebody
on
I'm
retweeting that
Challenge
right now.
Who's won just because they're trans? What the hell are you thinking? Not you, Freda, but the idiots who do the attacking here. It's just ridiculous. It's just a game. It's a game show. Grow up.
Well, I mean, these stories come into the news because, like I said, they're algorithmically reactive. So anything to do with trans, no matter what the story, kind of, and I understand Pink News gets a lot of criticism for being a bit clickbait.
But it wasn't just on Pink News; it was on all kinds of news channels.
Yeah,
I guess they pick it up.
It's good though. I mean, I like it when something winds up arseholes. Like with something that winds up
the presence,
anything that
presence
exposes
of a trans
them.
person on University Challenge has wound up people, transphobes on Twitter, to abuser. I mean, I don't even know what to say.
Well, it's like that's it. That's the case with everything, though. It's like you only have to say you support trans people if you're a celebrity or you've got any kind of clout as an account. All you have to do is say trans people are quite nice, actually, and loads of people will just pile on and say you're allowing women in, you're allowing men into women's spaces, and there's gonna be mass rapes, and the world's gonna turn to shit because no.
Anyway, shout out to Emily. Well done. Keep up the good work.
Keep up the good work.
I'm going out of focus. What's going on? Oh, there we go.
Oh, I got a new HD webcam.
Oh, did you? Yeah. Very nice. I thought you were looking a bit sharper tonight.
Yeah, you can see how ugly I am in HD.
I have to say, when I first saw your outfit, I thought we were going to do a Jack and Ori episode tonight.
It's Blue Peter with Freda. Blue Peter with Freda and Vicky. This is my Doctor Who outfit.
Your Doctor Who outfit, yeah, with your dungarees, yeah.
Oh, I've got my pajama bottoms on. Anyway, we've digressed.
We have another good news story, and this time it's good news with the World Cup. I know we've mentioned this many times.
Have we won?
I don't know. I'm not following the actual game.
It's on. Oh my God! It's on. It's on in half an hour. Come on, hurry up! Oh, I saw this. This guy.
World Cup pitch invader.
Yeah.
He's getting kicked out of Qatar for doing it, but good for him. Mario, I think it's Ferri, did a bit of a pitch invasion during a game between Portugal and Uruguay. He ran on with the pride flag and was tackled to the ground. And he was also wearing a
Superman
shirt, Superman t-shirt, whatever you want to call it. Save Ukraine on one side, and I think on the other side it was supporting Iranian women. So
that's brilliant. You know what?
Good for him.
I think I said this before, but this World Cup, if it's been anything, it's been celebratory.
Yeah, there's been a lot of stories coming out which are like this one, which kind of, at least get the topic spoken about.
I mean, even David Baddiel has, kind of redeemed himself.
I mean, there was another article about Qatar and a trans woman, but it was such a horrible story. I didn't even want to bring it up. I tweeted about it, but just the way trans people are treated over there, awful.
There was
this trans woman I'm talking about had to cut her hair, and she had to have breast tissue surgically removed because she's trans.
Right.
You know, that's how they treat. That's actually how they treat trans people in Qatar. So anybody who's thinking it's a bit of a joke, it's serious, and it's you know, it's pretty horrendous.
It's like with these countries where human rights are not like we're quite. I think we're kind of in a sense of sometimes false sense of security sometimes. But it's very easy to go. People think, oh yeah, that's over there, that's happening over there, that's not going to happen here. But these things are incremental, and it only has to take a few steps for something to become permissible. But the thing
with this World Cup thing, everybody's trying to sweep all this stuff under the carpet. Say, oh, don't look at this. Look at the football. Watch the football. Don't worry about the human rights. The football is more important. But you know, fuck FIFA.
Fuck FIFA.
Fuck FIFA.
I hate FIFA. I mean, I like football, but I don't agree with, I want, when people talk about the Great Reset and all that, I think football needs to be reset. I think we need to just get rid of these.
Get rid of FIFA. We need a new organisation, one that's actually, based on proper principles and policies.
I like football. The thing I watch football because my nephew likes football.
I would be watching this World Cup now if it wasn't in Qatar and all this nonsense wasn't going on. I quite enjoy watching the World Cup games. They're quite exciting. I'm no big sports person, but I do enjoy a World Cup, and I can't watch this one because I'm just so against what's going on.
But you see, like my nephew loves football, and it's one of the few things that he'll talk to me about, like where he's really enthusiastic, and I like it when people are enthusiastic about things. I'm not bothered what subject it is. If somebody knows something inside and out,
it was great watching the women win, wasn't it? That was good. That was an enjoyable event. The UEFA thing.
But the politics of it. It's just it's like anything, really, isn't it? When you look, it's like we all like KFC now and again, but when you look into when you look into factory farming, we don't want to think about that when we're enjoying a few fucking boneless buckets. You know what I mean? But that's the way it is with everything. It's like when you look at porn, there's a systemic abuse going on there somewhere. When you buy something off Amazon, there's something fucking horrible going on somewhere. It's like, but there's no exemption from that. So you either go and live in a fucking like a hermit in the Outer Hebrides with no internet connection, or you just it's like one thing or the other.
How would we do the podcast if I moved to the Outer Hebrides?
I don't know, but I'm not saying don't care about things. Well, the point is that when you analyze things, that you can kick the joy out of anything, but the actual thing itself is not the problem. Like, if the game of football itself was just the game of football, it's like a beautiful thing. But when you get money and politics and advertisers and Gary Lineker and it just becomes this horrible thing.
Yeah, they have.
I'm not saying Gary Lineker's horrible, by the way. I'm just saying he's part of the problem.
Yeah, but it was Beckham taking his 150 million for being the face of the games. He should have known better.
Spend it like Beckham.
Spend it like Beckham. Yeah. And our final topic on the list today was the High Court case that's been brought by Eva Echo against.
Oh, I love Eva.
Yeah, I do. Against the NHS over life-threatening wait times for trans healthcare. So this is like GICs, people having to wait 5, 6, 7 years now for, getting to see the GIC. So this is a judicial review that's being brought against the NHS by Gendered Intelligence, Good Law Project. Eva Echo is one of 4 trans people involved in the case as well, I think. I don't know who the other 3 are, but I know Eva. I've met Eva a couple of times. She's great.
I have met her,
She does some amazing work. She won an award at the Trans in the City event that was a couple of weeks ago.
She's amazing, and she has some amazing tattoos.
She does.
And the thing about this story,
tattoos,
like when you talk to, if you've ever been in any arguments with people on Twitter about, I always mention Twitter because it's always on Twitter.
So I think what this case was is that it's going ahead. There's going to be a judicial review, but it's not going to be until later next year. So this was the case to determine whether they can have one or not. And yes, they can, and it's going to be next year.
Yeah.
So good. I mean, that's really good. Well done, Eva.
But isn't it interesting, though, that everything that the gender criticals and the TERFs say, like, about, we don't have healthcare. Like, I waited nearly 2 years just to get seen by a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
And it's not easy, So imagine what it's like for somebody who's under 17 so it's non-existent, basically.
I mean, Freda, you and I are very privileged because we've both been able to get onto the Indigo thing in Manchester, and that has accelerated our times. I mean, there's a lot of people who don't live in areas where they even have these pilot schemes, and they're waiting 5, 6, 7 years for a first appointment.
I mean, when I first came out,
there's a massive discrepancy around the country. Even in Manchester, where you do have Indigo, people who are getting on to Indigo have still had to wait a couple of years at the GIC where they originally registered before they were moved on to the Indigo list. So even with that, there's still massive queues.
What I will say though is, like, when I first went to my GP was absolutely fantastic, and she understood the problem. She understood what I was trying to tell her, but she couldn't do anything. She could have.
But she's in Greater Manchester.
Yeah, my GP could have prescribed me any hormone treatment. Yeah. She could have done the blood tests, but because she didn't have the jurisdiction to do that, I had to be referred to a gender psychologist.
Well, there's pressure from the GMC, isn't there, to comply with?
Yeah, but I could have. I don't necessarily want to go to a gender clinic. I could have just gone to my GP, and because she wanted to help me, but she couldn't. So the problem there is not everybody has a good GP. Not everybody is going to have that first point of contact that is positive.
Why do we have to go to these specialist units to get this, what is very simple
exactly.
treatment?
So
just bring train up your GPs, bring your gender care into the GP primary care setting, and make sure your GPs are trained in the subject. I mean, it's quite straightforward stuff, and you can still have your specialists at your GICs and your pilot schemes, whatever you want to call them. When it comes to a specialist in, and the endocrinology side of the stuff.
But what I want to say generally, for maybe people that are not down on this particular, because we are in it, we know the ins and outs of going to the gender clinic and all that. But what I want to say is, if you're in an area and where your local doctor is, if your doctor tends to be cynical about trans people, how is, it's going to be awful. And
well, they need to be trained. They need to be trained.
There's no training that can train you out of being an arsehole.
You can't deny someone treatment if they've broken the leg. So why are you able to deny someone treatment if they're trans?
Because they'll see it as something
I'm
that
an anti-broken leggist. It's like, it's ridiculous.
Because it comes under mental health, and mental health is also underfunded.
But it doesn't really come under mental health.
I mean, it does. I mean, it's like when you refer
to mental health issues.
No, but the whole what you call medicalization.
They try and make it sound like it's a mental health issue, but it's not.
Well, yeah, but I think it is partly mental health, because but the thing with that is we could all do with some kind of therapy sometimes. But when it's like if you're trying to work out like how you feel about yourself and stuff like that, I think therapy is very positive. I don't want to shame mental health. I think but we all have those issues, whether we're trans or not. But it just becomes more explicit if you're trans and you're saying, look, I need some help because I'm getting extra stress. And the stress is not
related to being trans.
Exactly, yeah.
Is probably the thing that you need help with, because it's so difficult to progress, and there's so many, people against us. I mean, that's where I get stressed. Is where we're facing discrimination. It's not being trans. I don't have any kind of issues related to being trans in its own right.
That's the case with a lot of
surrounding stuff that's stressful.
Well, that is true of a lot of mental health problems. It's like I speak to people a lot who've, got bipolar disorder, on the schizophrenic spectrums. And it's not necessarily because once you're in that system and somebody's labeled you as with a diagnosis, that appears on your medical records. So people start to treat you differently because of that diagnosis. And that is a problem. So part of the stress of being sort of neurodiverse or being on some kind of, depression spectrum or bipolar, Kanye West, whatever, I just threw that in there because that's what I think Kanye West is suffering from. But it's like people start to think, oh, crazy, yeah, whatever. And you get labeled this thing, and then it stops anybody seeing anything else about you. So that's my problem with it. So when people see trans on your medical record or what, they'll think, oh, yes, you're a certain kind of person who needs a certain kind of, no. But that's true of all mental health. Just because you have a certain diagnosis doesn't mean you should be treated differently.
I think
there are certain factors.
The thing we suffer from is incongruence, isn't it? It's the
but the difference is, like, I know there are certain medications that can help with depression and can help with schizophrenia, but there's no medication because with those, the point is to diminish the symptoms of that disorder.
It's a bit like
with being trans, you don't. It's the trans bit is not the disorder.
No, but it's a bit like saying that if someone's gay or lesbian, that's a disorder. It's a bit like saying that, being trans is no more a disorder than being gay or lesbian.
Yeah, but you see, with the trans thing, it's more spectromic. So you're going to get people that are more on the who want to, say body dysmorphia, dysphoria.
Yeah, there's the incongruence, I call it.
Yeah, exactly.
Which you don't have if you're gay or lesbian.
Well, when I've been in conversations with people and they say, "Oh yeah, you just you're trans, so you just seek therapy and you should," it's like
maybe the cisgendered people should go and get some therapy.
But yeah, that's true, because there's a certain, if you're identifying completely,
if you're some therapy around being nasty towards trans people.
Well, don't you think that, like, a lot of these people, my theory is a lot of people are gender questioning. They might not be trans, but everybody is gender questioning. You might go through puberty and get through it and just be quite happy with your body.
I bet there's loads of cis guys out there who, look at other guys and think, oh yeah, he's quite nice.
Yeah, there's that. But what I'm saying is, gender questioning is something we all do. Yeah. But it questioning isn't the thing. The question it's when you feel like there's something intrinsically different in the way you express gender. So that's a difference. But I mean, I like it. I like talking about my experiences with people who are straight and cis, because if they're talking about it from a good place, I think that's interesting conversation to have. But I don't want to have an argument about it.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But yeah, I've always said though that, like, when people are overly forceful with their view, it's because they're insecure about something. So when somebody's coming at you on Twitter and saying, there's only man and woman, there's only two sexes, it's like, why do you have to keep saying that over and over? What is it about that's wormed its way into your brain?
Change the record.
Yeah, it's like there's something you're thinking about there, and it's maybe you might be trans. Well, it might not be, but we're all gender questioning. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I guess we do at a certain level. Yeah.
Definitely. But I think that's intelligence. Like, it's a kind of intelligence to be questioning.
I wouldn't say that's a bad thing either. I mean, it's why wouldn't somebody question? Questioning is good, isn't it?
Exactly. It's like any kind of philosophical analysis of what is it to be human? What is it to be a man? What is it to be a woman? What is it to be gay? What is it to be straight? What is it to be up? What is it to be down? It's like, all these things. If you're thinking about them, it means that you're engaging with something outside of yourself, and that to me denotes some kind of intelligence.
Yeah.
Because that's what separates us from animals. Like when we look at things in an abstract way, because also like the first abstract concept that people seem to understand is the idea of male and female. That's an abstract concept. It's not a you know, set in stone thing. It's an idea. It's like the idea of pink for a girl and blue for a boy. You know, where does that come from? You know.
Well, it used to be the other way around, I think. You know, it's changed over time.
Exactly.
There's an interesting comment from Durham Red. I don't know who Durham Red is. Have you seen that one?
Oh. No.
I'll read it out. Very good points made in the show today about gender criticals trying to radicalise people to turn them against us, and the implications for many areas of life, not least in employment. Well done.
Oh yeah, that's Lindsay, I think.
Is that Lindsay? Okay.
Well, you know, it's the thing with employment is the world of employment and it being in a professional setting, we all perform a certain role, don't we? Do you know this idea of code switching? Like you're a different, you kind of act, you don't act a certain way, but you kind of use certain language in a professional setting that you don't use in a social setting.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why, you know, when you're in a work environment, you're a different kind of animal.
Yeah.
But yeah. But and anyway, I was going to say, you know, because, you know, we had the custard tart moment.
Yes, we did, didn't we? Yes.
Well,
oh my God, look at the size of that beast. You could dive in that one.
Well, I said to my mum, will you get me a custard?
Is that all for you? Where's mine? I'm coming round. That's amazing. Well done.
And I was a bit insulted you didn't like my new glasses.
Yeah. I prefer the white ones. Have you got the white ones handy, or have you lost them?
No. So I'm going to have my custard tart now.
Yeah, so I was going to say, this week, we're going to do another podcast around your interview with GB News.
Oh, yeah.
So that'll go out midweek.
But I'm going to do like a reaction video.
We'll do that midweek, I think. And then, same time next week for Gender Nebulous. I think it'll be number 12 by this time next week.
Gosh, we're doing 13, a lot, aren't we?
We are doing a lot, yes. And we also need to talk about the Gender Nebulous Christmas party. We haven't decided on a location and a place yet.
Are we going to do it as a podcast?
I don't think I want to do a podcast while I'm tucking into my Christmas nosh.
What? So you're going to come to Manchester and do it?
Well,
because like
there's, you know,
one of my plans
there's
is
probably some
to
places
do a live
between
podcast.
Where you and I live that we could go and.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. But I want to record it. We just do a live.
We can do a live section in between courses, couldn't we? You know.
I do want to do a live podcast though.
Yeah, we're doing one
at
right
some
now.
point. Yeah, because we could book the Feel Good Club.
You mean live in a location, in a venue?
Oh yeah, in a real life.
You want me to go on a stage and do a podcast live?
Yeah, we just sit at a table.
What do I have to do?
We'll just talk like you just do what we're doing now.
Stuff.
You just have to do what you're doing now, but in front of an audience.
In front of 100 people. I could probably do it.
50. But yeah, I'm just trying to think of ways.
Actually, doing it at the Feel Good Club would be a good venue because it has a nice little stage where you could put up a couple of chairs, a couple of nice armchairs, a couple of microphones set up, and we could do it live there. That would be good.
Do it live.
Get it organised, Freda.
I always. Do you remember that? What was he called? That news anchor in America who had that famous meltdown.
I don't know.
Oh, was it Bill? So what was he called now? And he was like, "Oh God,
Bill Maher."
Not Bill Maher. No, Bill O'Reilly.
Oh, Bill O'Reilly. Oh, yeah, many meltdowns.
Look it, we'll do it live.
You comparing me to him?
No, that was me.
I'm offended now.
But Have we done all the topics?
We've done all the topics. We've gone 46 minutes over our allotted time. We've been chatting away for an hour and 46. Would you believe?
This is the longest one
This is
yet.
the longest one ever.
And you know what?
Our poor listeners
is,
will be pulling their hair out. They'll be thinking,
That's how much
why am I
wine
watching
have I-
this rubbish?
While we've been doing this.
So if you have been with us throughout, thank you so much for being so
We are rosy
patient. And you
cheeks.
are really top-notch listeners for putting up with us for such a long time, listening to our shit. Thank you.
Don't forget to subscribe.
Subscribe, like, please come back and listen again.
Yeah.
And we'll try and change the topics at some point. So,
Please,
so we don't keep
please
talking
adore
about
us.
the Wizard Lady and the World Cup. And, you know, and by the way, if somebody wants to come on and have a chat with us whilst we're doing this, we're absolutely open to that idea.
Yeah, we're going to have to get some guests.
Yeah, we'll get some guests on. If you want to come on, just let us know. And you can come on.
I've got my eye
talk, shoot the
on
shit with us.
Graham Linehan.
No,
Alan
he's not
Joyce.
invited. Sorry.
No, I think we should have Joss Pryor.
Josh, yes. Josh.
She's great. And I think we should have, I don't know. I mean, it's a bit weird having guests because I think, like, are we interviewing them or are they part of
they're coming on to join in the
Right,
nonsense
okay, that's
bullshit
what I
conversation.
wanted. Yeah, because
And if they bring custard tarts, well, they're more than welcome.
right. Well, I'm going to tuck into my
Yeah, well, you
custard.
enjoy your custard tart. I'm going to go and make my tea because I've not had anything yet.
Okay, Victoria.
Lovely talking to you again. And
Well, I hope we've managed to be entertaining and informative.
yes,
And
I'm sorry about the technical
educational.
hiccup at the beginning where my microphone was not quite as it should have been, but I was kind of focused on doing all the other technical stuff. It's a bit like trying to land a plane. I've got 3 screens going on here. No idea what I'm doing. But anyway.
Okay.
I shall end the YouTube and we will say our goodbyes on the podcast momentarily. So ending the broadcast now. Bye. YouTube.